Here's a list of things you will not do while on leave. You will not drink and drive. You pick up a young lady, let her drive. Let her get the DUI.
Hello everyone, I'm Johnny, and today we're taking a look at Stop Loss from 2008. This is a movie that deals with what was often called the backdoor draft, which took place during the Iraq and Afghanistan wars. This policy was a big deal and still remains an issue, so the movie gets big props from me just for addressing it. So let's check it out. First, I liked this movie more than I thought I would. The movie was a box office flop. I never heard of it on its release, and what reviews it did receive were mixed. Therefore, my expectations weren't high going into it, and this likely helped me be overall impressed by the film. So I'll try my best not to pump it up too much, so you can have a similar experience. I was surprised the movie did so poorly. It has a great cast: Ryan Phillippe, Channing Tatum, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Timothy Olyphant, and one of my favorite actors, Ciarán Hinds, an Irish actor who I wasn't expecting to play a Texas rancher. I think ultimately what held the movie back is that it's a very depressing movie. This is not an action war movie, though it has some battle scenes which are so-so. The main battle scene is set up with less focus on realism and more focus on bad decision-making and trauma. The engagement and subsequent loss of several squad mates reinforces UF Staff Sergeant Brandon King's decision to leave the army. It's the end of his second tour, and he blames himself for the loss and injury of his men. As he is preparing to leave, having served out his enlisted contract, King is stop-lossed. King would be one of some 185,000 service members between September 11th, 2001 and September 30th, 2009, who would have their contract involuntarily extended for a term dependent on the military's needs. Today, stop-loss policy can still be implemented. When soldiers enlist, they contractually agree that their term of service may be involuntarily extended. The biggest issue here is major inconsistencies between branches and units, with stop-losses implemented in ways that are extremely inequitable. Often targeted are low-density military occupational specialties, such as those working in logistics and intelligence. Frequently included were soldiers on deployment or with units scheduled for deployment, meaning soldiers whose lives would be at risk in combat. Soldiers were further stop-loss to fill positions of soldiers who were killed in action. This could affect soldiers who are nearing retirement, getting married, starting their education, or like in the movie, soldiers who were decorated, having served multiple tours, but were psychologically drained. Commanders could make case-by-case exceptions for soldiers, but at times of war, unit cohesion was the priority.
You understand why it's important we win over there. Why we need good soldiers like you.
Yes, sir.
You have extenuating circumstances, you gay or pregnant.
Stop-loss policy is to be implemented during times of war or national emergencies. This policy became hugely unpopular as the war in Iraq and Afghanistan dragged on, and the wars became unpopular. In 2009, the military did reduce its stop-loss policy for these wars. Naturally, the movie highlights the trauma stop-loss can inflict on a soldier at his wit's end, or one who is psychologically already checked out at the end of their service. The unit of soldiers followed in the movie suffer from trauma, as we are familiar with seeing in countless other war movies, or perhaps in real life. There is alcoholism, spousal abuse, flashbacks, broken relationships, the reality of fitting back in. These men, like many men who've been in their shoes, are trying to navigate their futures. You can imagine how jarring it would be to be in the middle of figuring out civilian life, only to be thrust back into another tour of duty. And not just painful for the soldiers, but their families as well, at least the ones whose prayers have been answered, their loved ones made it home, but now they might face another year of sleepless nights, fearing every knock at the door. The story gets rolling in a seemingly cliche manner. Sergeant King goes AWOL while he tries to figure a way out of his stop-loss. He was the shining example of a soldier, but during his last action, he saw women and children killed, and saw too many of his men killed. When he runs off, he does so with his best friends and squad mate's fiancée Michelle, simply because she has a car and is a friend of the family. You expect this to turn into a frustrating and pointless love triangle, to add more unneeded mess to a story that already has a few too many melodramatic moments. But it doesn't. Rather, the movie balances out some of the melodrama with some more realistic, yet powerful scenes. Sergeant King, while trying to figure out his future, stops to pay respect to the family of one of his killed squad mates in one powerful scene. The most powerful scene in the whole movie comes when King and Michelle stop at a VA hospital to visit a squad mate who is injured. Here, Victor Rasik, playing Private Rico Rodriguez, gives a great understated performance, and the subtle bravery in this scene is enormously touching and critical to the whole movie. The movie is dramatic, really zeroing in on the worst manifestations of trauma. However, the VA hospital is a good reminder that there are all kinds of injuries from war, with some amazing men losing so much, but not giving up hope. The point being, we all handle trauma differently and at different times. Some trauma is visible, some is not.
I mean, I might go back, because if I got killed, my family get green cards.
Stop-loss continues to be a debated issue, as it should be. It's needed to have a functioning army. However, it should be properly and thoroughly explained to young recruits, and its use should be more highly regulated, particularly in terms of durations and advance notice. Calling stop-loss a backdoor draft is not unreasonable. Days in combat can be like Russian roulette for a soldier. To extend this on men who have already volunteered for this service, who have already risked their lives, is seemingly cruel. It might be less cruel to simply draft amongst men who have not already taken their chances in direct combat. One alternative would be to offer soldiers lucrative contracts to serve beyond their original contracts. America already has a history of paying private military companies exorbitant amounts of money. Why not keep it in the family, so to speak?
Alright, I'm Johnny. Thanks for watching this review on Stop-Loss. It's a complicated movie that at times teeters on melodramatic, but overall it's a very good movie and well worth a watch. Let me know what you think in the comments section, but most importantly, do take care and have a nice rest of your day.